The first time the universe truly noticed Earth, it wasn't because of war, conquest, or technology. It was because of something far simpler and far more extraordinary. Somewhere in the endless stretches of space, a scanning vessel from a distant galaxy drifted into orbit around our blue planet. At first, the alien crew thought they were encountering just another small, unremarkable world, the kind of place they had passed thousands of times in their travels. But as their instruments picked up the rhythms of life, the patterns of culture, and the subtle signals of curiosity and intelligence, something unexpected happened. Every galaxy they had ever explored seemed to pause, frozen in stunned amazement. No one on Earth knew it yet, but eyes far older and far wiser than ours had just caught a glimpse of humanity. From their vantage points light years away, these beings observed the planet spinning gently in the void, oceans glinting under the sun, storms dancing across continents, cities pulsing with human life. And yet, it wasn't just the planet itself that drew their attention. It was the people, the way we loved, struggled, created, and survived against impossible odds. To these observers, humanity radiated something unfamiliar in the cosmos. Raw, untamed potential, combined with a resilience that even their advanced technology struggled to quantify. The scanning vessel hummed quietly as its sensors adjusted. The alien crew, beings who had studied the rise and fall of countless civilizations, exchanged signals and patterns in ways humans could barely imagine. Some were curious, others cautious. But one thing was clear: Earth was different. Every statistic, every measurement, every analysis pointed to a planet that defied their expectations. No matter how many worlds they had cataloged, none had sparked the kind of fascination that this small, fragile sphere of blue and green had managed in mere minutes. Among the crew, one observer couldn't contain their disbelief. Their appendages trembled, a rare display of emotion for a species that had long prided itself on logic. "Are we seeing this correctly?" A resonant thought echoed through their shared consciousness. Images of sprawling forests, winding rivers, towering mountains, and the intricate web of human life replayed across their vision fields. Every human interaction, from a child's laughter to the quiet labor of farmers tending their fields, seemed to vibrate with a signal the aliens hadn't anticipated. It was as if the planet itself was alive in a way that went far beyond biology. Back on Earth, life went on obliviously. People rushed through streets, cars hummed along highways, cities buzzed with electricity and ambition. But above the clouds, in the vast silent expanse of orbit, the aliens watched, catalogued, and debated. Some suggested leaving quietly, keeping the discovery secret to avoid influencing the natural course of human development. Others argued that such restraint would be a waste of an opportunity they might never encounter again. And then, just as the debate reached its peak, a strange anomaly appeared on their instruments, signals that didn't match any natural or artificial phenomenon they had ever encountered. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but it carried a signature they couldn't ignore. The lead observer adjusted the scanning array, zooming in on the source. What they saw caused a ripple through their collective consciousness, a mix of awe, fear, and something closer to admiration. It was humans not as a species, but as individuals interacting in ways that suggested both creativity and chaos, compassion and cruelty, bravery and vulnerability, all tangled together in patterns that defied prediction. This wasn't just a planet with life. This was a planet with life that seemed to dare the universe to ignore it. As the crew tried to understand the implications, the question that hung in the void became impossible to ignore. How should they respond? Should they make contact, risking unknown consequences? Or should they continue to watch, catalog, and wait, knowing that the very act of observing might alter the course of history? And as these questions swirled among them, a subtle pulse in the data grew stronger, a signal that seemed almost intentional, almost challenging. The aliens exchanged uncertain thoughts, realizing for the first time that Earth was not just another world. It was a puzzle, a phenomenon, a spark of something that could shake even the most stoic civilizations across galaxies. And just like that, the calm of space gave way to a tension that stretched across light years. Humanity remained unaware, blissfully continuing its ordinary chaos. While the most advanced eyes in the universe focused on every movement, every sound, every heartbeat of this strange little planet, the moment had arrived, a moment that could change everything, but whether it would be for triumph or disaster, no one could say. The galaxy held its breath, and Earth, as always, spun on. Would these aliens reveal themselves? Or would they simply continue their silent observation, letting humanity reach its potential on its own? In the quiet darkness above, the answer had yet to come, and the suspense stretched further than any human imagination could reach. As the alien vessel lingered silently above Earth, the crew began to dig deeper into what made this planet so extraordinary. They didn't just observe with eyes or sensors, they probed the very patterns of human society, analyzing cultures, languages, technologies, and even the intangible threads that tied people together. Each discovery only added layers to their fascination. From the earliest sparks of civilization to the sprawling metropolises of today, humans seemed to thrive, not just despite their challenges, but because of them. Every struggle, every triumph, every moment of connection was a ripple that spread far beyond what the aliens could quantify. One of the observers focused on human communication, the endless stream of ideas and emotions exchanged across the globe. They saw how humans could share knowledge yet interpret it differently, how a single act of kindness or cruelty could cascade into something unimaginable. To the aliens, accustomed to societies bound by rigid logic and uniformity, this unpredictability was both perplexing and thrilling. It was as if Earth was alive with possibility, each human a spark of chaos that the universe had somehow allowed to survive and maybe even flourish. The crew began to compile records, trying to map the patterns of human behavior across centuries. Wars, inventions, art, and philosophy were all analyzed, and yet the more they studied, the less certain they became about what it all meant. Humans were violent and gentle, destructive and creative, fragile yet relentless. One observer noted a phrase from a human text: "The strongest steel is forged in the hottest fire." To them, it seemed to capture the essence of a species that could endure anything the universe threw at it, and maybe even grow stronger from it. But not every member of the alien crew was convinced that admiration alone was enough. Some argued that humans were dangerous precisely because of their unpredictability. Their capacity for innovation could rival the most advanced civilizations the aliens had encountered. Their empathy could inspire alliances, yet their anger could spark conflicts that threatened not only themselves, but anyone nearby. One observer projected simulations, imagining what would happen if humans were introduced to technologies far beyond their current reach. The results were terrifying and exhilarating in equal measure. Meanwhile, Earth continued unaware of the scrutiny above. Humans laughed, fought, loved, and dreamed, oblivious to the invisible eyes tracing every pattern, measuring every heartbeat, and cataloging every innovation. Cities lit up at night like constellations, and in rural areas, quiet lives played out with rhythms that were subtle yet powerful. The aliens began to recognize something in human resilience that was almost spiritual, something that couldn't be captured by data or logic alone. Every human story seemed to contain an element of defiance, a refusal to accept limits imposed by nature, circumstance, or even mortality. The alien vessel's sensors detected something unusual in the atmosphere, a signal, faint and irregular, that didn't match anything the crew had ever encountered. It wasn't purely technological, nor was it entirely natural. It seemed to pulse with intent, as if the planet itself were responding to their presence. Some members of the crew speculated that it was a subconscious human creation, an echo of collective thought amplified into something they could detect. Others argued it might be a sign of something deeper, something the humans themselves didn't yet understand. The debate grew heated, a rare crack in the calm rationality that usually defined their species. As the vessel adjusted its orbit to get a clearer view, the aliens noticed patterns in human history that repeated in strange cycles. Civilizations would rise, flourish, and fall. Yet certain traits endured: creativity, curiosity, courage, and an unyielding desire to connect with others. The more they studied, the more they realized that humanity was not merely a species, they were a phenomenon. and phenomena were rare in the universe, often fleeting, often misunderstood. Yet here was one that had survived and evolved against every expectation. The crew began to sense a tension building not on Earth but within themselves. Something about humans made them question their own assumptions about intelligence, power, and the flow of time. Each discovery challenged centuries of accumulated knowledge, and the longer they observed, the harder it became to predict what humanity might do next. Even their most advanced simulations failed to capture the essence of human unpredictability. One observer whispered, though in thought, not sound, that perhaps this species was not meant to be controlled, catalogued, or judged. Perhaps humans were meant to exist as they were, untamed, unrefined, and astonishingly alive. And yet, the anomaly in the data persisted. Whatever was emanating from Earth seemed to grow stronger, almost as if it were aware of the vessel above. The crew couldn't decide whether it was a warning, an invitation, or something else entirely. Some wanted to retreat and study from a distance. Others wanted to descend, to interact, to learn firsthand what made humans so extraordinary. Every decision carried potential consequences, but no choice seemed safe or predictable. As the vessel hovered silently above the spinning planet, a quiet understanding settled among the crew. Earth was not just another discovery, it was a challenge, a puzzle, a story unfolding in real time, one that no civilization, no matter how advanced, could fully anticipate. The questions multiplied. Who were these humans, really? What was the source of their boundless resilience? And above all, what would happen when this small, fragile species finally became aware that it was being watched by eyes from beyond the stars? The tension stretched across the void, heavier than the vacuum itself, leaving the alien observers on the brink of a choice that could change everything. And far below, Earth spun on, blissfully unaware of the gaze of the cosmos, blissfully unaware that the moment of first contact, the moment that would define the future of humanity, was approaching faster than anyone could imagine. As the alien vessel hovered silently over Earth, the tension among its crew reached a subtle crescendo. Some observers were mesmerized, almost paralyzed by what they were seeing, while others grew restless, frustrated by their inability to categorize humanity neatly. From their perspective, humans were a paradox wrapped in contradictions, fragile and dangerous, brilliant and reckless, cruel and compassionate. One observer argued that the species' unpredictability posed a risk not just to themselves, but potentially to other civilizations in the future. Another countered that the very chaos of human behavior made them unique, and perhaps even worth protecting. The debate spiraled, echoing across the collective consciousness of the ship, as if the tension itself had a weight in the void of space. Meanwhile, on Earth, life moved forward in its ordinary chaos. Scientists monitored strange cosmic signals without realizing their source. Governments speculated on unknown satellites in orbit, and ordinary people went about daily life, entirely unaware of the beings observing them from light years away. Yet even from a distance, the aliens could sense the energy of humanity, the relentless drive to learn, build, and explore. They tracked conflicts, innovations, and even small acts of defiance, noticing how these seemingly minor moments often cascaded into events with immense impact. It was in these moments the aliens realized that humans revealed the depth of their resilience. Subplots began to emerge even among the alien crew. One observer became particularly obsessed with human creativity, diving into archives of music, literature, and art. They marveled at the diversity of thought and expression, each creation a window into the human mind's vast potential. Another focused on human cooperation, studying how people overcame natural disasters and conflicts, sometimes succeeding and sometimes failing spectacularly. These observers began to develop theories about the hidden mechanisms of human society, why certain ideas spread, why some societies flourished while others faltered, and why, despite repeated crises, humans continued to persist and innovate. Yet the anomaly in Earth's signals continued to perplex them. It pulsed with irregularity, almost deliberately, and its origin remained a mystery. Some believed it was a form of communication, subtle and indirect, perhaps a natural product of collective human thought. Others suspected it could be a defense mechanism, a way the planet itself reacted to their presence. No conclusion felt secure, and every analysis only deepened their uncertainty. Tension built not just between the aliens and the unknown signals, but within the crew itself. Some members began to argue that they needed to act to investigate directly, to intervene or contact humanity. Others insisted that patience was crucial, warning that premature action could be catastrophic. From another perspective, some members of the crew began to study human emotions with increasing intensity. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but their emotional spectrum seemed to fuel their resilience. Joy, grief, fear, and hope intertwined to produce outcomes no algorithm could predict. One observer noted a simple act of human tending to an injured animal, risking their own safety in the process, and found themselves profoundly moved. The implications were staggering. If emotion could drive innovation, leadership, and survival, humans might hold a power the galaxy had never truly seen before. And yet, that same emotional depth could just as easily lead to self-destruction. Back on Earth, subtle coincidences began to appear. Natural events aligned in strange patterns. Unexplained phenomena were recorded by observatories, and unusual signals picked up by satellites hinted at something larger lurking just beyond human perception. Scientists and researchers debated their meaning, unknowingly edging closer to awareness of the alien presence. The tension escalated because, while humanity remained unaware, small cracks in their ignorance were forming. If those cracks widened too quickly, the first contact could happen under chaos rather than order. The aliens understood this better than anyone they knew, that timing mattered more than speed, that revelation without preparation could provoke fear, aggression, or even annihilation. On the alien ship, factions began to form. One group believed in observation only, letting humans evolve naturally and intervene only if necessary. Another argued for controlled contact, reasoning that introducing their knowledge gradually could elevate humanity safely. A smaller, more radical faction considered revealing the full scope of the universe to humans immediately, believing that the species' ingenuity demanded it. Each faction pushed its perspective, creating internal tension that mirrored the uncertainty they felt about humanity itself. And then a breakthrough in the anomaly appeared, but it was neither comforting nor clear. The signal intensified briefly, spreading across the electromagnetic spectrum in patterns that suggested intention, almost as if Earth itself or the humans upon it were aware of being watched. The aliens shared a collective unease. Could humans sense them already? Was this an instinctual response or something far more deliberate? The vessel's crew realized that every action they took from that moment forward could tilt the balance, forcing consequences no one fully understood. As the observation continued, the stakes grew higher. Humanity's trajectory seemed increasingly intertwined with the decisions of the unseen watchers, yet the outcome remained uncertain. The aliens hovered, caught between awe and apprehension, curiosity and fear. Each day brought new data, new revelations, and new dilemmas, and every discovery only intensified the suspense. Somewhere in the chaos of human life, the first spark of understanding or conflict was about to ignite, but whether it would bring wonder or disaster was still unknown. The galaxy watched silently, Earth spun beneath indifferent stars, and the first chapter of this cosmic encounter stretched on, unresolved, full of tension, and ripe with the potential to change everything. The alien vessel drifted closer, its presence almost imperceptible to human instruments, yet the tension on board was palpable. Every observer felt it, a weight pressing across their consciousness, a quiet hum of anticipation that seemed to echo from the planet itself. The anomaly in the data had grown stronger, more complex, and more deliberate. Whatever signal Earth or humanity was sending, it was now impossible to ignore. Some argued it was a challenge, a test of patience, intelligence, or judgment. Others feared it was a warning, a prelude to consequences they could not yet predict. The debate raged as the vessel hovered in orbit, light years from any interference yet fully enmeshed in the smallest details of human life. From the perspective of the crew, humans were in a phase of unprecedented activity. Cities pulsed with energy, technology advanced at a pace that even the aliens found astonishing, and communications networks linked minds across continents in ways that defied comprehension. The observers could see flashes of brilliance in labs, workshops, and classrooms. They could track moments of courage, people taking risks to save others or to create something extraordinary. And yet, alongside the brilliance, there was chaos, division, and conflict. Wars and disputes, political unrest, and environmental crises, all of it unfolded in a dizzying pattern that the aliens could neither predict nor control. Every human triumph seemed shadowed by vulnerability, every act of kindness mirrored by danger. The anomaly continued to pulse in response. Now it seemed almost sentient, reacting to the observations of the alien vessel. Some members of the crew suggested retreat, arguing that they were provoking something they did not fully understand. Others urged caution, but even their careful monitoring felt fragile in the face of what was unfolding. One observer pointed out patterns in human communication, subtle, emotional, and interconnected, that suggested humans might already be aware of a presence beyond their planet. The notion was unsettling. If humanity was sensing the Watchers, even faintly, it could change everything. Subplots among the alien crew intensified the tension. One faction obsessed over human innovation, theorizing how the species' creativity could alter the balance of power in the galaxy if left unchecked. Another faction focused on human empathy and cooperation, speculating that these traits might enable a level of resilience the aliens had never encountered. Yet a smaller, more impulsive faction saw potential in direct contact, proposing bold intervention strategies that could force humans to reveal their full capabilities or provoke disaster. Arguments echoed across the vessel's collective mind, every thought amplified by the weight of possibility. Below, humans continued to spin through their ordinary lives, yet the signs of extraordinary influence were mounting. Satellite anomalies, unexplained energy surges, and mysterious patterns in natural phenomena began to attract attention. News reports hinted at strange cosmic events, though no one could connect the dots. Scientists debated the origin of signals and natural patterns, their curiosity tinged with unease. The aliens watched, acutely aware that the first human to truly perceive their presence could trigger irreversible consequences. Every calculation suggested that humanity's ingenuity might lead to detection sooner or later, and the timing of that revelation would be crucial. The vessel's crew grew increasingly divided as the anomaly intensified. Some argued that Earth itself was alive in a subtle, conscious way, perhaps connected to every human mind in a collective pulse. Others suggested that the anomaly was a defensive reaction, emerging from the planet's life forms as instinctual energy. And then there were those who feared the anomaly was something more, a hidden intelligence or force, one that could act independently and unpredictably. Every observation reinforced a sense of suspense. The closer the vessel came to understanding, the more the unknown expanded. One of the observers tracked human conflict, fascinated and unsettled by its dual nature. Acts of aggression and competition were balanced by astonishing moments of heroism and ingenuity. A small protest in one city escalated into a movement that changed the lives of thousands. A breakthrough in medical research promised to save millions of lives. Every ripple in human society sent new readings through the vessel's instruments, as if the planet itself were testing the Watcher's patience. And still, the anomaly pulsed more strongly with every observation, as though responding to the intensity of the scrutiny. Tension among the crew reached a tipping point. The question that had lingered in their minds for cycles now demanded attention. Should they act, reveal themselves, or continue observing? Every choice carried potential consequences far beyond anything they had previously encountered. Some observers felt a pull toward revelation, driven by awe and curiosity, while others felt dread, fearing that even the smallest misstep could trigger conflict or catastrophe. Discussions became heated, the calm rationality of the crew fraying under the pressure of the unknown. Meanwhile, subtle shifts began on Earth itself. The anomaly's influence grew more tangible, creating moments of synchronicity and coincidence that no human could fully explain. A sudden surge in global communications, unusual alignments in natural events, and bursts of creativity seemed almost orchestrated. Scientists puzzled, artists inspired, and ordinary people unknowingly mirrored the intensity of a presence they could not see. The watchers knew that the moment of first perception was nearing, and with it, the climax of a story that had been unfolding silently across galaxies. As the vessel hovered over the spinning planet, the tension became nearly unbearable. Observers strained to interpret signals, track patterns, and anticipate human reactions. Below, Earth pulsed with life, energy, and chaos, its inhabitants unaware of the eyes that measured every heartbeat and movement. The anomaly glimmered, a living thread weaving through the atmosphere, growing stronger, more deliberate, and more enigmatic. The moment of confrontation, of revelation, understanding, or conflict was approaching, and no one could predict what would happen next. The suspense stretched across the void, a tension so profound that even the silent stars seemed to hold their breath. Every observer, every signal, every heartbeat on Earth converged toward a single point in time. The galaxy waited. The planet spun, humanity teetered on the edge of discovery. And somewhere in the unknown currents of the cosmos, the first contact, the moment that could change everything, loomed closer than ever, unresolved, thrilling, and impossibly tense. As the vessel continued its silent vigil above Earth, a new and unexpected development shook the alien crew to its core. The anomaly, the subtle pulse that had been growing for cycles, suddenly split into multiple patterns, each moving independently, yet all interlinked. It was as if Earth itself had become a network, a living organism capable of responding to observation with intelligence and strategy. Observers who had prided themselves on logic and precision stared in disbelief, unable to immediately comprehend the layers of complexity unfolding beneath them. Some whispered, not in sound but in thought, that perhaps humans themselves were more aware than anyone had anticipated. This sudden shift raised the stakes far beyond the vessel's original purpose of passive observation. The anomaly now seemed to communicate, not just signal, with an intensity that bordered on intentionality. Small bursts of energy aligned with human activity. An invention in one city caused the pulse to shimmer across half the planet, while a humanitarian act in another seemed to echo in patterns that mirrored the observer's own communication protocols. The alien crew quickly realized that humanity, or Earth itself, was not merely reacting. It was responding in ways they could barely interpret. The balance of tension had escalated, and the question of first contact became more urgent and perilous than ever. Some members of the crew suggested retreat, to recalibrate and analyze the anomaly from a safer distance. Others argued that hesitation might be fatal. If humans were indeed sensing the presence of the vessel, every moment of inaction could provoke misinterpretation. The idea of interference, once theoretical, now felt immediate and unavoidable. Arguments spiraled across the collective consciousness. One observer warned that this was a test of patience. Another countered that it was a challenge, meant to provoke a response and measure the limits of human capability. The tension between caution and curiosity fractured the crew, creating a secondary conflict that mirrored the uncertainty surrounding the planet itself. Meanwhile, on Earth, subtle but undeniable shifts began to ripple through human society. Scientists reported sudden spikes in atmospheric energy and electromagnetic anomalies that defied explanation. Reports of strange auroras and unusual planetary alignments spread across social media and news outlets, sparking speculation and fascination. Human ingenuity and curiosity, the very traits the aliens admired, now placed them on the threshold of discovery. Ordinary people were beginning to notice patterns, coincidences, and phenomena that hinted at a presence beyond comprehension. Unbeknownst to humans, their actions, both deliberate and subconscious, were now interacting with the anomaly in ways that could alter the course of the impending encounter. The vessel's crew discovered that the anomaly seemed to mirror their own strategies and thought patterns. Attempts to isolate its origin only caused it to multiply and fragment further, as though Earth was actively testing the limits of the observer's understanding. Some members hypothesized that the planet itself was a semi-conscious entity, channeling human activity as part of a protective or evaluative mechanism. Others argued that it was a product of collective human thought, a force amplified by the unpredictability of human emotion, ingenuity, and conflict. Either way, the situation had evolved from passive observation to a dynamic and dangerous interaction that none of the crew could fully control. One observer, fascinated by human resilience, suggested a bold experiment to subtly influence human behavior through targeted energy pulses, measuring the responses. The proposal ignited heated debate. Interference could accelerate humanity's awareness of the vessel, potentially triggering panic, fear, or aggression. Yet observation alone now felt insufficient. The anomaly was shaping the environment, human activity, and even the perceptions of the scientists studying the unusual signals. Every calculation, every simulation, suggested that Earth's response to contact could redefine the balance of power in the galaxy in ways no one could predict. On Earth, unexplained events intensified. A series of technological failures occurred simultaneously across multiple continents, and unusual patterns emerged in natural phenomena. From shifting weather systems to the unexpected migration of animals, human curiosity surged. People tracked, recorded, and analyzed the anomalies, and in some cases, the very act of observation seemed to amplify the signals. The interactions between human consciousness and the anomaly now formed an intricate feedback loop, drawing the vessel's attention to specific locations and activities. What had once been a passive spectacle had become a battlefield of awareness, with Earth itself an active participant in shaping the coming confrontation. The alien crew grew increasingly anxious. If humans were beginning to sense the presence of an advanced civilization, even faintly, the potential for miscalculation was enormous. Fear, aggression, and misunderstanding could ignite conflict before any deliberate contact. At the same time, the anomaly had become more complex, more responsive, and more intelligent. Some observers speculated that humanity might possess latent capabilities beyond what the aliens had anticipated, a combination of ingenuity, intuition, and resilience that could surpass even the most advanced civilizations the crew had encountered. Tension peaked as the vessel adjusted orbit, bringing its sensors closer to the most active centers of human observation. Signals from the anomaly pulsed in patterns that were increasingly sophisticated, almost as if Earth itself were daring the watchers to act. Every calculation, every strategy, every hypothesis now faced the stark reality that the humans below were not passive, that their creativity, curiosity, and determination were shaping the very terms of first contact. The crew faced a profound realization: they were no longer in control of the encounter. Humanity and the anomaly had taken an active role, and the outcome remained unpredictable, teetering on the edge of revelation or disaster. As the vessel hovered, the suspense reached its peak. Every observer felt the weight of uncertainty, the pull of anticipation, and the thrill of potential discovery. The anomaly shimmered, fractured, and pulsed, its presence a living challenge that no logic, calculation, or simulation could fully explain. Below, humans unknowingly moved closer to a truth that could alter everything they had ever known. The stage was set for the climax, and the galaxy, silent and vast, waited with bated breath. The alien vessel's sensors hummed with activity as the anomaly reached its peak. The fractured pulses that had been building for cycles coalesced into a pattern so intricate and deliberate that even the most advanced observers were forced to pause. It wasn't just signals anymore. It was a message, an intentional communication of staggering complexity, almost as if the planet itself and all of humanity had orchestrated a moment of first contact. Every observer felt a surge of anticipation, coupled with fear, because they finally understood. This was no longer observation. Humanity had drawn them in, on its own terms, and the encounter would happen in real time. From Earth, scientists around the world recorded the anomaly as a dazzling, inexplicable phenomenon. Energy pulses shifted in the atmosphere, electromagnetic readings spiked, and strange auroras danced across polar skies. People witnessed lights in the sky that defied conventional explanation, and social media erupted with videos, speculation, and awe. Humanity's innate curiosity and desire to understand had unknowingly synchronized with the anomaly, amplifying it to a point where the presence of the alien vessel became undeniable. Millions looked up, some in fear, some in wonder, while the vessel itself prepared to make the final, delicate move. Within the alien crew, tension reached its zenith. The factions that had debated observation versus intervention were forced to act together, combining logic, empathy, and careful calculation. The vessel deployed a controlled energy pulse, a gesture of acknowledgement rather than intrusion. The result was instantaneous. The anomaly's patterns intensified, responding with a complexity and immediacy that shocked the observers. It was as though Earth itself, guided by the collective energy of humanity, had chosen to communicate first. The crew realized that the humans they had studied, the chaotic, unpredictable, brilliant species, had forced the first handshake in a cosmic dialogue. As the pulse stabilized, the vessel revealed itself in the atmosphere, not a threat, but a monumental, silent presence that stretched across the skies. Humans watched in astonishment as the ship's contours shimmered in sunlight and reflected city lights, its size and structure defying imagination. Governments scrambled to understand it, scientists raced to analyze it, and ordinary people simply stared, mouths open, hearts pounding. And yet, there was no panic, no aggression, only collective awe. Humanity had faced uncertainty before, but nothing like this. The anomaly pulsed around the vessel, a visual and energetic manifestation of communication, bridging the gap between worlds. The alien crew, observing reactions through sophisticated sensors, marveled at human ingenuity. They saw flashes of courage, curiosity, and empathy in real time. A scientist guiding people to safety from a minor energy surge, an artist capturing the spectacle on canvas, children pointing upward with wonder. Humans, in their chaotic and imperfect way, were proving exactly what the observers had theorized for cycles: that intelligence alone was not enough to define greatness, but resilience, creativity, and empathy could elevate a species beyond expectation. Then, in a moment that no observer could predict, the anomaly shifted again, forming a luminous spiral that descended toward a single location on Earth. The pulse was deliberate, almost intentional, directing attention to a remote area where a small group of humans had gathered to observe the skies. Within seconds, the energy dispersed in a controlled wave, gently illuminating the group, and for the first time, the aliens detected conscious understanding in their minds. Humans were perceiving not just the vessel, but the underlying intelligence guiding the anomaly. The first connection in unspoken, thought-based communication had been established. For the crew, it was a revelation. All their analysis, simulations, and caution had been necessary, but the humans had taken the initiative themselves. This species, so unpredictable and chaotic, had created the conditions for first contact on its own. Every fear, every argument, every calculation about potential danger had been answered not by intervention, but by the sheer force of human ingenuity and collective will. The climax of centuries of observation had arrived, and it was the humans who had orchestrated it. Yet, even as awe swept through both the alien vessel and the observers on Earth, the anomaly pulsed one final time, sending a subtle, almost playful tremor through the planet's magnetic field. The energy coalesced into a pattern that the vessel's sensors could not fully decode, leaving even the most advanced observers stunned. It was not a conclusion, but a question, a signal that humanity's story, and the interaction between species, was far from over. The vessel and humans had connected, yes, but the true nature of this dialogue, the potential consequences, and the next steps remained shrouded in mystery. The sky dimmed slightly as the anomaly receded, leaving behind a planet buzzing with energy, humans looking skyward, and an alien crew grappling with the realization that the most extraordinary discovery in the galaxy was not a passive world. It was a living, thinking, creative species capable of shaping the course of history itself. The climax had been reached, yet the story was far from over. Humanity had proven its worth, but the final twist lingered like a shadow. Somewhere in the signals they had yet to decipher, Earth had left a challenge that even the most advanced civilizations might never fully understand. The galaxy waited, the vessel hovered. Humanity looked up. And in that fragile, electrifying moment, the tension hung heavier than ever, hinting at adventures, revelations, and dangers that no one could yet predict. The stage was set for the next chapter, and the universe had never felt more alive. As the alien vessel hovered silently above Earth, the atmosphere slowly settled into a new rhythm. The anomaly that had pulsed, fractured, and challenged every assumption now glimmered faintly, a quiet echo of the extraordinary encounter that had just taken place. On the planet below, humans returned to their lives, but the world felt subtly different. People looked up at the sky with renewed wonder, sensing that they were part of something larger, something far beyond what they had ever imagined. The moment of first contact had passed, and yet its impact would ripple through humanity for generations. On board the vessel, the observers shared a collective sense of awe and respect. They had expected chaos, fear, or panic, but instead they witnessed curiosity, empathy, and resilience at a level that no simulation or calculation could have predicted. Humanity had faced the unknown, not with surrender or aggression, but with creativity and courage. It was these qualities, the unpredictable spark of ingenuity and the refusal to be limited by circumstance, that defined what the aliens had long sensed as humanity's unique strength. For the first time, the observers felt that they were not merely studying a species, they were learning from one. The factions within the alien crew, once divided over intervention and observation, found a quiet consensus. Observation had led to revelation. The humans had not only survived the scrutiny, but had actively shaped the first contact in a way that honored their potential. The impulsive faction, which had argued for direct interference, understood that the boldest act of all had been made by the humans themselves. In this, the crew saw a reflection of the very principle they had long admired in life across the galaxy. Intelligence alone was incomplete without curiosity, courage, and cooperation. On Earth, subtle changes unfolded. Scientists began to piece together the anomalies that had baffled them, creating new frameworks to understand phenomena that had previously been dismissed as coincidence or error. Artists, writers, and thinkers found themselves inspired by the shared sense of wonder that had spread across cities and countrysides. Even in daily life, ordinary people felt a heightened awareness of their place in the universe, as though the encounter had nudged humanity closer to its potential. There was no fear, only curiosity and a renewed appreciation for the fragile, brilliant world they inhabited. The anomaly itself receded, but its lessons remained. Humans had interacted with it instinctively, unknowingly, demonstrating empathy, ingenuity, and resilience on a planetary scale. The aliens had witnessed this, and their understanding of intelligence, life, and civilization had expanded in ways that no record, calculation, or theory could fully capture. In the quiet aftermath, the crew reflected on what they had seen. Life was not measured solely by logic, technology, or order, but by the creativity, courage, and spirit that could arise even in the most chaotic circumstances. Humanity, in its unpredictable brilliance, had exemplified this truth. Subplots that had developed throughout the story also found quiet resolution. The observers who had focused on human conflict saw that while humanity could be violent and self-destructive, the species' capacity for cooperation and empathy always emerged in ways that balanced the extremes. Those who had studied human creativity recognized that innovation was not a product of rules or algorithms, but of curiosity, persistence, and collaboration. And even the faction that had feared the anomaly's growing intelligence came to understand that Earth's subtle communication had been a form of guidance, not threat, a teaching in the value of patience, respect, and observation. For humans, the encounter left questions that would guide their future. Could life beyond Earth truly exist? What did the universe hold, and how could they prepare for the day when first contact might happen again? The answers were uncertain, but the first contact had shown that humanity was capable of rising to the occasion, that the qualities that had defined them for centuries, creativity, resilience, empathy, were exactly what would allow them to thrive. The key takeaway was clear: the universe was vast, filled with unknowns, but humans were not powerless. Their unpredictability, ingenuity, and courage made them extraordinary in ways that no other species had demonstrated. As the alien vessel slowly departed, it left no trace except a subtle hum of energy fading into the upper atmosphere. Humanity returned to the ordinary rhythm of life, yet the memory of the encounter lingered, quietly reshaping perceptions, aspirations, and dreams. The galaxy had taken notice, and while the humans remained unaware of the full extent of that attention, the first chapter of interstellar awareness had been written. The audience, humanity itself, was left with wonder, curiosity, and the realization that life, in all its brilliance and chaos, mattered on a cosmic scale. And in the final moments, as the sky returned to its familiar patterns, a small, faint signal pulsed in the distance. Subtle but unmistakable, a reminder that this was not an ending but a beginning. The universe was watching, humanity had proven its worth, and the story of Earth among the stars was only beginning. The galaxy had paused, taken note, and now waited to see how humans would rise, learn, and evolve, leaving the world poised on the edge of infinite possibilities, full of suspense, potential, and the promise of adventures yet to come.